Hey guys, welcome back to another Bitcoin update today. Need to look at some charts. It's been a few days since we've looked at the charts. I haven't changed a massive amount, but we need to just dive into it a little bit and look into some of those events coming up in the next few days. Before we get into the video, check out the links in the pinned comment and description. We've got the VIP link, we've got the community Telegram discussion group link, and we've got the Crypto Academy courses link. Check all of those out. Let's get into it. So this is Bitcoin from a daily perspective. Essentially what we need to note from a daily perspective, and we'll zoom up in a second, but what we need to note from a daily perspective is this downtrending blue line stemming from these wicks in May. That blue line is kind of a critical breaker for Bitcoin right now. And as we head up towards these events coming up in the next few days, which we'll talk about in a second, FOMC and CPI, we could be seeing a retest of that line. It really depends on how the events go. We also could be seeing one final correction to a lower bottom, but again, we'll look in that in a second. This line, this blue line here, is the reversal point, and it's supported by the bull market support band. So breaking that blue line and breaking that bull market support band will lead to a medium-term to long-term price reversal, as we've seen for the last 6 months or 7 months of consolidation due to that line and downtrend due to that line. So I have actually worked this line into our buying plan for that reason. We bought 50% at 17 to 18k, and we will buy 50% at a weekly candle close above the bull market support band. Keep in mind, closing above the bull market support band, this orange band here, which is comprised of a 20-week SMA and the 21-week EMA, breaking above that will constitute a break above that blue line. So it'd be breaking above both of those things there. So again, 50% buy at 17 to 18, which we've done, and the 50% buy at the break of the bull market support band, or a drop down to 13.8k to 11.5k, whichever comes first. Because obviously we are in a 4-year cycle. We still are, in the 4-year cycle, we still are in Q4. The 4-year cycle, I'll bring it up right now. You guys can take a look. Is kind of a date range prediction, date range trend on Bitcoin that stems from the first halving we had on Bitcoin in 2012. And it kind of predicts a Q4 bottom. We are still in Q4, there is still a chance we could go lower within Q4. I've spoken about this a lot in the past. I do think it is more likely than not that Bitcoin has bottomed out. Right, a lot of people are going to disagree with me on that, and a lot of people are going to disagree with me on that using the macro, and that's a fair enough argument. I don't think it's super set in stone. I think probably a 60% probability. It's very, very roughly likely. But ultimately, we can go lower. And if we were to go lower, well, where would that take us? And, this is something we could discuss right now. Well, it'd probably take us to that 13.8k to 11.5k level. And I'll just draw those out, and then I'll map here, and then I'll show you what I've got on this chart here. 11.5k to 13.8k, very big support block, okay? If we went to the monthly chart, it's where the monthly candle closed in 2017. It's also where the weekly candle found support in 2018. It's also, massive support zone during the bear market. You can see between those two red lines, massive support zone. If we do lose the low, okay, and specifically, if we do lose this yellow uptrending line, right, which is stemming all the way back here from 2014, we will be going down to that red region. And notably, right, what's notable is that we have had a bit of a pattern here forming, okay? Now, I don't know if it's a pattern per se, but it is interesting to look at. The green line here is the 200-week SMA. The blue line, the light blue line, is the 300-week SMA, and the dark blue line is the 400-week SMA. We bottomed out on the green line in 2015 and 2018. We bottomed out on the light blue line in 2020. We could be bottoming out, if we go down further, on the dark blue line, which is the 400 in this year, in 2022. So potentially we could be seeing a pattern of bottom out on the 200, bottom out on the 300, bottom out on the 400. Now that's obviously highly speculative. The only reason I bring it up is because if we do go down below this yellow line, the next target for Bitcoin is between these two red lines. And that red line, that first upper red line, is supported by the 400. So it would be interesting there. Yeah, so I do admit there is a decent probability that we do go downwards further towards that 11.5k to 13.8k level. I've never said that wasn't possible. It's in my buying plan for a reason. If it wasn't possible, I wouldn't have it in the buying plan. But I do think at this point, it is slightly more likely that we have actually bottomed out already. And a lot of people, a lot of analysts would share my opinion there, and a lot of analysts would disagree, and they'd point at the macro and say that's not true. But I don't think people understand to the level I'd like them to understand. As an analyst, we rely on historical data. The historical data at this point compels me to believe in the 4-year cycle theory. And a lot of people would debate that, and they would say, well, the 4-year cycle theory has only been active during a macro bull run, and you're correct in saying that. However, even during this macro bear market, even during this recession we're going through right now, we haven't seen the 4-year cycle deviate at all yet. And we haven't seen this bear market be any different to previous bear markets. In fact, this bear market has been more tame than previous bear markets. It's actually been easier than previous bear markets. If we look at the percentage drop so far into the bear market, 70-ish% drop, You know, in this one over here, we had 86 by this time. In this one over here, we had 84 by this time. So the percentage drop has actually been less, and the 4-year cycle is still pretty valid. So nothing other than the fact that we're in a macro recession is kind of pointing me in the direction of saying this 4-year cycle is going to break, because the charts themselves are still following it perfectly, and they still followed it perfectly in November. So I'm one of those people who's going to say the trend is your friend until it ends. At this point, the trend's still my friend because it hasn't ended yet. So that's my opinion on the 4-year cycle. I do think that stands true. And for that reason, I do think there's a decent probability that we have bottomed out already, or potentially we'll bottom out at, you know, towards the end of this month, which is going to be triggered by those macro events. But before we get into those macro events, short-term charts, quite important right now. I want to briefly interrupt this video to talk about the BitGet Exchange. The BitGet Exchange has 5 times lower fees than Binance, which is the biggest major exchange in the cryptocurrency market on futures. It also has 0 fees on every single spot pair, so you can trade spot for entirely free, no fees included. It runs events. Right now it's got a FIFA World Cup event sponsored by Messi, the football player. It's got copy trading, strategy trading. It's got exclusive rewards and discounts in the reward center. It's got everything you need for a trader using an exchange. This is the exchange I personally use as a trader for my everyday trading, and I highly recommend everyone does so at the Wolves of Crypto YouTube channel. Sign up using my referral link for exclusive rewards and discounts. That really helps out the channel, and I appreciate it. For my fans from the United States of America, you can sign up using this exchange with a VPN and use the exchange with a VPN and just sign up using my referral link like normal, and you'll be treated like a normal customer because this is also a non-KYC exchange. So make sure to sign up using my referral link in the pinned comment or the description below, and without further ado, let's get back into the video. Specifically the RSI and specifically some of the structures we're forming on the short term. This is the 4-hour chart. We have a ascending wedge formation that's still kind of active here for Bitcoin. We have this yellow line within the wedge, which is kind of a support resistance line. We'll make that dashed. But ultimately, we're in an ascending wedge formation, which is not a good structure. It's a structure of exhaustion. We're seeing bearish divergence there, and we're seeing an uptrending support line in the RSI. If we do break down below this pink support line in the RSI, and we break down below the wedge at the same time, that would be a short trade, and you take that short trade to 16.2K. Okay, and if we break to the upside above the wedge, we break above 17.6K, that would be a long trade, and you would take that long trade to the light blue downtrending line, which we can go ahead and take a look at on the daily chart here. Right, so that would be your shorter term trades there for Bitcoin that we need to be keeping an eye on. Now, when will that volatility be coming? Well, it's quite clear when it will be coming, and all we need to do by that is kind of understand how macro events work and look at when they are. Okay, we've got the interest rates decision in 4 days and 15 hours. Okay, sorry, yeah, so FOMC 4 days 15 hours, and we've got the CPI decision a day before that. So we've got that in 3 days. Okay, so CPI in 3 days. FOMC in 4 days. What does that mean? It means volatility is coming. And it means volatility is not coming in 3 days. It means volatility is coming very, very shortly, because we see the volatility ramp up before those events. And the fact that these two events are so close to each other, right, literally 24 hours apart, means that the volatility is going to be exponential. So the boringness you're seeing in the market being so stable right now, that's not going to last, right? There is going to be a splurge of volatility, and the market will be driving up or down. If I had to look at a TA right now in the short term, and look at that objectively, I'd say the market would move down. But you guys know how it is with macro events, right? Macro events can toss things up, and we can go in complete opposite direction. So yeah, I think overall my views on Bitcoin are quite clear. I think it's probably more likely than not the bottom is in, but the short-term charts are a little bit uneasy. We could see one more drop, and we could see one more sharp drop lower. But ultimately, I do think the 4-year cycle will prevail, and I think we will bottom out in Q4, if not very early January, maybe mid-January at the latest, right? That's kind of my opinion for Bitcoin right now. I think within the next month, 30 days, Bitcoin will be bottomed out. If it hasn't done so already, of course. And I think this downtrending blue line, on the Binance chart here that I've got on the daily chart, this downtrending blue line, it's hard to say that when that will break, because you know when I say the bottom's going to be in Q4, I don't mean the bottom's going to be confirmed in the charts in Q4. I mean that the bottom's going to be in Q4. We could have placed the bottom and still be lurking around that region and only break upwards 2 months later, right? So it's hard to say in the present moment. But this blue line here should be getting tested in January sometime, I'd assume, right? You know, it's pretty rapidly descending. It really depends on where we do bottom and whether we're bottomed already. But if we're bottomed here at 15K, it should be getting tested in January for sure. Because, you know, at some point, the range gets very tight, right? If we have bottomed here at 15K, you'd have to remember that, you know, this is almost like a triangle formation at that point. The range is getting tighter and tighter and tighter. Eventually, you'd have to break it to the upside if that was in fact the bottom. Whereas if we did bottom at 13K, the range is quite a lot bigger, and hence we can break to the upside later. So yeah, that's the situation for Bitcoin, guys. Hope you enjoyed. We'll catch you in tomorrow's video. Thanks for watching. Cheers.